Not many people realize this, but dysfunction in the front of your body can cause pain in the back of your body. Stay with me and listen to this. So these are the guys that I work with most of the day. These are your hip flexors. Two main ones are the iliacus and the psoas. The iliacus is on that anterior or interior pelvic bowl on the iliac crest, and it goes into the lesser trochanter of the femur. And then your psoas major and minor. Some people don't have a minor. Little quirky thing to know. You can tell that at parties. But this goes from the front part of your lumbar spine. That's key. That's important. And it goes all the way into your femur, your hips. Now, why is this important? I see this on so many different people that come in. They have acute low back pain. They're touching the back of their spine. They're saying, hey, it hurts back here. What's going on? And a lot of times, these muscles are inflamed. Now, what does that? Now, it's tough to pinpoint the one thing that causes everything, but there are general things that cause a lot of these problems in people. So this posterior pelvic tilt and this anterior pelvic tilt, where the hips are angled anterior, forward, the abdomen comes forward, is relaxed, these muscles tighten. This can happen from postures, from a weak core in the front of your abdomen. Your rectus abdominis muscles can be really weak. Posterior pelvic tilt, the hips sway back, and that can come from postural type of issues. Also, too, people don't realize that your hips, if I can hinge this here, actually, I'm gonna go get a skeleton. Here we go. So your hips, inflection, that can cause a shortness and tightness of the psoas muscle. So it's really common. What causes that? Name a thing is what I usually tell people. So sitting at work, sitting in the car, sitting for dinner, anything that keeps your hips and your hip flexors shortened like this can shorten that muscle, so that when you go to stand up, you're elongating those muscles that attach at that low back. So the pain you feel in the back is referring from the back all the way around to the front. Now you're saying, okay, Dr. Marshall, you told me all these things. How do I help this? Well, the biggest thing you can do is to stretch this muscle. There's a few different ways that we can do that. If you're seeing me, it's probably not going to feel that great, but my goal is to get to the threshold of what you can handle and to pinpoint and release these muscles. So I'll do a pin and stretch or a trigger point release. I'll literally use my hands and dig into the pelvic bowl. I'll show you which one is angry. Lately, on a lot of people, it's been that iliacus, that muscle deep there, it goes into the SI joint. We get that deep radiating pain, burning tension that wraps around into the front. So we'll hold, release. Sometimes we'll do a compression here on the psoas, and I'll move the knee back and forth. And a lot of times you can release this at home by doing some simple lunges or stretches. Kind of like what this photo's doing. See how they're bringing that leg back? They're pulling, they're extending those hips and opening up this muscle here. Now, it's really hard to do. Stretching is the most boring thing in the world. It's why no one ever does it right. It takes a long time to stretch these muscles. Research shows about 90 seconds is the minimum time you need to really affect the plasticity of the muscles. The elastic part, the springy part, like a rubber band, anything under 90 seconds is a stretch, or is a warm-up considered. You don't actually stretch the fibers until you're holding it, and those fibers can relax a little bit. It takes about 90 seconds. So that's why stretching is the most boring thing in the world. Now, another thing that can secondarily happen with affected hip flexors is the anterior pelvic tilt. So the hip flexors are pulling on that spine, pulling things forwards, and it wants to drive the abdomen and gut out, thus relaxing your rectus abdominis or your front core muscles through here, instead of having a neutral position. So look at these two spines. I know it's tough to see here, but when we're in this position, that anterior pelvic tilt, you have an increased sacral angle, creates more tension on your low back. It creates less suspension here for the rest of your spine, because your spine is the suspension system, that shock absorber within your body, and it throws everything off. Another big thing that I see, especially in women, is that it throws off the pelvic floor muscles. Now, you already have pressure coming in from your bladder, your uterus, and your rectum, all those forces pushing down. Now, imagine your sacrum tilted, and your hips and abdomen are working against that. So you have a weak core, an opened up sacral angle, and you're pushing on those pelvic muscles. Now, what happens to muscles when they stretch? I'm taking us back here to physiology course, but there's two different types of receptors in the muscle fibers that help sense what it's doing. So there's the GTOs, the Golgi tension organs that sense the tension of the muscles, and then there's the muscle spindles, which is the quality or the length of the muscles. Now, muscles respond to the forces that are put on it. So if you have a muscle that is chronically being pulled at, the brain's going to say, hey, well, I don't want you to tear that muscle. You need to tighten and to hold on to that area. So that's why we get spasm in our back. So you work out and the brain's like, hey, these muscles are tired, lock them down. So you get those balls, those trigger points in your back. Well, same thing's happening to the pelvic muscles. So when you have chronically altered pelvis, either the forward or anterior tilt, it affects those muscles because you have more pressure being exerted down onto it than was meant to be. So that can lead to bowel or bladder dysfunction, cramping in the area, a sense of urgency when you need to go to the restroom. Now, I don't really get into the weeds when it comes to pelvic floor dysfunction. That's just not my scope. I do refer a lot of women to have that done. I think it's very good to have that, especially if you've given birth to a child, cesarean or vaginally. Those muscles hit the table. Those muscles can be affected. A lot of time too in aging populations, we need help to reestablish that function in the area. So we have chronically tight hip flexors, leads to a pelvic floor imbalance. It's a recipe for pain all over your low back and pelvis. So sometimes that pain you're feeling in the back is actually coming from the front and surrounding muscles. So I hope you learned something today.